I know it's not Thursday, but we needed a new episode of the Good Ole Podcast earlier this week so we can talk about Virginia's big win over then number 8 Florida State in double overtime. We also have a special guest on this episode. We invite former Virginia DB and current color analyst for the Virginia broadcast, Ahmad Hawkins, to the show so that we can discuss the win. What stood out about the offense? What changed on the defense for it to be successful? And what's next for the program? Have expectations changed? All that coming up on the new episode.
Castellanos in the shotgun. Virginia brings the blitz. Castellanos in trouble. Hit as he throws. Hangs it up towards the end zone. And it's intercepted! Virginia has done it! All heaven has broken loose! The kids of the Commonwealth swallow the field! 46-38. Virginia has taken down Florida State. I swear it's not a dream.
Do you believe in the Who's now? Do you believe in the Who's now? What the Twitter thumbs gonna say tonight? Who's, baby? Who's?
Hi, welcome back to the Good Ole Podcast. I'm Jackie Franchuli, and you just heard Ahmad Hawkins being very excited on that broadcast call after Virginia beat number 8 Florida State. And as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, you see the man that was very excited. I felt like Petty Hawk was coming out during the end of that broadcast. I think you had a lot of emotions coming out there.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of emotions. It wasn't full-fledged Petty Hawk, but it was influenced to make sure that they know who won the game, and that was the Who's.
For sure. I mean, you said, do you believe in the Who's now? Do you, Ahmad, believe in the Who's now?
Oh, I definitely believe in the Who's, and I've been called a homer. I don the jersey. I play for the university. I just believe in what the coaching staff has been preaching, and sometimes it's hard because, we're result-based business, and if the results don't match your belief, then people start to question your belief. So I'm just glad that it's coming to fruition, and it's still early in the year, but to beat a top 10 team here at home when they don those 95 jerseys, it was just poetic.
And now Virginia is ranked for the first time since 2019. So the year they went to the Orange Bowl, they're number 24. This has been just watching the post-game reaction because obviously I came down from the press box and then I was kind of hustled back to the press room. I think the troopers didn't want any more bodies down in the field, but just seeing the images, it felt like it was cathartic for the players too. They've always come so close the last few years. I mean, we've covered so many close games that went the wrong way for UVA. It seemed like this was a cathartic win for them.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was like full circle because the work that you put in. You understand the mindset that the coaches want you to exhibit during the games and just how the game went, jumping out to the 14-0 lead, creating those turnovers, and then we having a couple series in a row when we turn the football over and, then Florida State taking the lead back, going up 21-14, and we have a couple minutes before the half. And, we go down and we right the ship and we tie the ball game. And Coach always talks about the middle 8. So coming out in the third quarter is important to us. And Florida State's a team that comes out and they look to score in the third quarter as well and just finishing it. And so at the end, it's like when you're looking at them celebrate, it's like, are you celebrating because you surprised you won? Or are you celebrating because you understand the magnitude in which, what you accomplished, and you're more celebrating because the fans get to enjoy with you? And then as a player, it's like after 24 hours, you got to rinse it out because you understand what's ahead of you, and that's Louisville. So that's just it was just happy to see those guys just being able just to let out that emotion of, see, I told you, like we actually are good.
Yeah, it was nice seeing Jason Hammond with his dad and all the hugs because he got it bad this
Yeah.
past week. I mean, Greg Medea did the story where he talked about he was a little bit too small for Florida State. Well, that was the message to him. And those Florida State fans were quite vocal in his mention. So it was fun to see him with his family there.
Yeah, each fan base is going to be protective of the program. And if they feel like you're slighting them, then they're going to go into attack, especially with social media now. When I was finishing up my career, they had just started like the Saber and some online message boards. But now I can only imagine being a player in the college ranks, having a Twitter, having an Instagram or a Facebook or message boards and just being accessible. And like you stated, those fans getting protective because they feel like he was, slighting them, even though he got slighted because somebody told you that you're not big enough. So it's like, I got to show you better than I could tell you. So, in the end, I guess he got the last laugh, but you never get the last laugh on social media because they'll just keep going.
That is a fair description of how social media works. But for you, Ahmad, what stood out for you after the game? What will you remember from that night?
Ability to finish. And when I say finish, and Jackie, you cover the team and, we talk to coaches and what they aspire to be. Just looking at our offensive side of the ball of getting to the red zone 5 times and scoring 5 touchdowns. Like, to me, that's the best stat ever. Like, we got into the red zone and we finished with touchdowns. The one time we asked our field goal kicker to come out, it was in crunch time to get us to that second overtime, and we did it. And that to me was like the stat that I was like, okay, that's turning the corner. To go up against that defense and score 5 out of 5 touchdowns and then limit them to settling for a field goal when teams been pretty much perfect versus us in the red zone. And a big game like that, we have them attempt the field goal and we capitalize off that and score a touchdown. To me, that was the stat that gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and actually that goes into my next topic because 2 of my keys was go perfect in the red zone or be efficient at least in the red zone, because prior to this game, there were 57% at turning those red zone trips into touchdowns. So 100% is more than I expected, honestly. So that was, like you said, it shows that this program is moving in the right direction in that regard and offensively, but also protecting Chandler Morris. Because I was worried going into this game when I had heard that center Brady Wilson was not going to be available into that game. And then you had nothing against what I thought about, Dred Metcalf coming in and going into center, but with all the numbers and all the injuries, you're concerned about that depth in the offensive line facing what can be a confusing defensive line to monitor in that Florida State. But I have to say, and I wrote it in my 5 takeaways, I apologized to Terry Heffernan and that offensive line. I said, I did not know your game. I did not know. I underestimated them because Jack Whitmer had the best game that he's had as a pass blocker. He's had 2 consecutive weeks of very solid games for him. Then you had Kevin Wigginton, which had a solid game. Last week he was injured, so he showed his potential, especially in the run game. He helped a lot. I think Jamari Taylor ran behind him in one of those crucial 4th down conversions. So you had him, and Drake just played really well at center. You got to, Terry Heffernan got one of my game balls this week because what he has done in that offensive line warrants a lot of praise.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the biggest question, Mark, because a lot of our NIL resources were invested in the offensive line, and a lot of those guys got injured. So it's been, musical chairs and guys, that next man up mantra has been utilized a lot. So when you have Brady Wilson, who's been our best graded offensive lineman, go down last week with the calf injury, and Drake has to go from guard to center, that's a strong relationship just between those two when they're on the field together. So now you have a new quarterback on your offensive line, and then you have a, quote, I guess, new receiver, because you have to have a relationship with that guard that's right next to you, and then that guard has to have a relationship to that tackle right next to them. And now you're making the calls if you're Drake Metcalf, and you're making the adjustments. And now all those guys have to trust that Chandler can pick up, blitz pickups and relocate. And that's why I think Chandler does a very good job with that's very subtle, right? Like, he'll relocate in the pocket to help our offensive line, and he gets the ball out quick by deciphering information depending on the schemes that we're running as far as the route. So kudos to our offensive line, because not only pass block but run blocking, like 4 straight games over 200 yards. That's doing our defense wonders, because it's allowing them to take the time to adjust and prepare for the opposing offense and put them in the hole if we start to generate that momentum and get up 2 scores.
Yeah, it's been night and day difference, right? 211 yards rushing against Florida State, who prior to this game had a really good rush defense, especially having contact, I think 0.65 yards. And then in this game, they allowed 3 yards before contact. So this was a very big difference for Virginia. And then 0 quarterback hurries. I mean, they did allow 2 sacks, but you got to say Chandler Morris, one of them was on him by going out of bounds. And the other one was kind of iffy because it looked like Cam Ross was there for the fake, and then he was open, and then Chandler kind of hesitated and didn't see what was coming. So even then, you can't even fault the O-line in that second sack as much. But again, a great performance by them. I mean, when you look at all the stacks, 73% conversion rate on late downs. There was one part I think that stuck out to me is when Chandler Morris hurt his thumb and hitting the helmet. They ran the ball down the field with so much ease. And I'm thinking, this was not on my bingo card after knowing the line was so depleted like this.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation right there. And Matt Shaw, who was in the booth with us for this game, shout out to QB1, he hit me and he was like, Chandler banged his thumb on the helmet. And I was like, how long, off air while John's talking, I'm like, how long does that take to recover? He was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how hard he hit it. So I was just like, let me see if we can run the football. And like you said, it was very methodical. And a lot of times methodical drives can really suck the life out of a defense, because it's 3 yards here, 2 yards there, 4 yards, and 7 yards, 2 yards, and 3 yards, and 10 yards, 15 yards, and 2 yards. So it's just, they just don't know where you're going to hit them at. But all we know is contact. We're allowing our offensive line to fire off. They're doing a very good job of just eliminating the immediate threat, which is whether it's the 1 technique between the guard and the center, or the 3 technique outside shoulder to guard, and then getting up to the linebacker. But a lot of times, the scheme that Florida State was displaying, they was allowing Earl, the number 0 there, the safety, to come down in the box. He's unaccounted for, so he's the free defender. And a lot of times, it was asking Jamari to defeat him. Like, he's yours. And we saw that last touchdown run that he had, that long one, where Earl Little Jr. and Jamari had a collision, and it was loud. And John was like, I think John was about to say he stopped, and then it was like, wait a minute, Jamari's still running. I mean, no, everybody stopped on the field because it was so loud, and he just showed just his competitive edge and technique that he's been taught to keep your legs churning, have that forward lean, and it's just all those moving parts are coming together, man. It's just a joy to watch.
Man, I still, Preston, Willa, and I, we sit next to each other at the press box. And I looked up and I was like, wait, how did Jamari even leave that group of defenders? Like, it was like, I called him the Houdini at that point, because I was like, he was in the middle of the group and suddenly he just pops and just goes. And you heard the hit. I mean, it was loud. I mean, it from like watching, and I kind of slowed it down. So when I was rewatching, I slowed it down. It felt like he got hit, and the Florida State guy, I was looking like, oh, I did the hit, and everyone just kind of stopped because they heard it, but they didn't take into effect that Jamari kind of rolled.
Yeah.
And he went by. Even Mikhail Boley looked like he was like, oh, I'm going in here, and it's like, oh, there he is. So it was it was watching in slow motion. Definitely is fun to see.
Yeah, it was similar to when if people are a fan of boxing, where a guy throws a big punch, but the defender is anticipating and he rolls with it. So it's a loud smack, but he was already rolling, so he took a little bit of juice off of it. And with Jamar, he anticipated the hit and he anticipated the location in which the defender would attack. And when he hit him low in the thigh board, you could see his back foot was already prepared for the hit. So when it's stuck in the ground, he immediately brung his right foot right back down. He kept turning his legs, and he just showed great balance right there.
He did. He's definitely proven what Keith Gaither said, right? He said he was going to be one of the best running backs in the ACC. I think Keith Gaither got that one right. I don't think he was hyping up him too much.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people was like, what? he coming from, HBCU. Is he really that good? And he's been phenomenal. What I like about him is he's just patient and he gets what's there. He doesn't try to do too much. And he's an eraser, as Coach Elliott loves to say. Like, he's an eraser. Like, you can have the right scheme called up for our offense, and he can erase that and make a positive out of it.
I mean, between him and Trill Harris, they erased their deficit, right? Because that was a crucial turning point for me, because this ended that Florida State run. Well, Trill Harris had that great show of focus and where he bobbled the pass, and then he went and got a few extra yards, and Jamari scored right afterwards. I mean, that was a turning point for the game for me, because that meant that Virginia won the middle eight.
Yeah, and that Florida State defender did everything you could ask except for catch the football. He's their best corner. He had 2 interceptions coming to the game. Watching film on him, he was jumping a lot of routes. And when Chandler was in motion of throwing, and I'm like, oh no, he sat. Like, this is going to be a pick 6. And he didn't finish. And the fact that Trail went from trying to break it up to, the ball's right here, not only catching the football, but making something out of nothing. I always said Trail reminds me of a smaller version of Terrell Owens, because he runs violent, and you saw that, how he was just ricocheting off guys, and I'm a huge Trail Harris fan and advocate, man, and that kid's phenomenal. That back inline catch he had on 2-point conversion is not an easy thing to do, and he got both feet in.
I feel like Virginia has a lot of violent players on the offense. Jamal Edrin is probably one of the most violent blockers.
Hey, I talk about him on every broadcast. I always shout out my coach, old receiver coach here at University of Virginia, Andre Powell, who's probably coached at every ACC school and whether he's the running back coach, the special teams coordinator. I don't know what school he's at now, but I know he's in the ACC. But he would have his chest poked out for Jamal Edrin. I need to send him film of just Jamal finishing blocks on these DBs.
It's remarkable to watch. I checked at Pro Football Focus. He is the highest rated run blocker for Virginia in that win against Florida State. He is the highest rated run blocker, not an offensive lineman, for Virginia this year. I mean, I know we talked about his frame and how great he was going to add in the offensive game, but my goodness, just no DB has a match for him. I mean, and I love the fact that he is such a veteran that when he's out there, when I can't remember which Florida State defender it was, he was in the Florida State defender's face, and it was how they were blocking. It wasn't like he was antagonizing, but he knew that that Florida State defender was this close of causing a penalty. That is veteran experience.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That's been what I call habitual line stepper. You understand where the line is at, and you get right there to, and you dare them to meet you where you're at, and they get caught. It's like you chirp, and you become that antagonist, but you understand, like, the mission is to get them to, step outside of character. Because here's the thing, Florida State wanted to be the bully. So what do bullies hate? Somebody that won't back down. And a bully truly despises someone trying to bully them. How dare you try to talk back to me or bully me? And that's what was happening. And even Trail caught when number 11 jumped off sides when we had the jet motion, the direct snap to Jamari Taylor. Trail almost depleted him. Like, these receivers, and shout out to Coach Mims, they're taking pride in protecting our backs, because they understand how those yak yards and yards after the line of scrimmage are important, and they're taking pride in not being, quote, divas. They're blocking. Like, they are being sickos. I call them sickos. When a receiver is willing to block and he's willing to finish you, he's a sicko.
I think Virginia, you know how Tony Elliott always says they need to smell the blood in the water or see the blood in the water? These guys realized that Florida State was unnerved a little bit.
Yeah.
They were getting tired on the defense. They weren't expecting what they got, this physical Virginia team. And they were making mistakes. I mean, several mistakes. And I think this is where that veteran, older team that we always discuss, this is where we're seeing it. You're seeing those little glimpses here and there about falling through with your play, but also how you're doing it. And I think that's the difference we're seeing now.
Yeah, and that's just buy-in, and that's just trusting the process as well. Because a lot of times when you're within the process and you're working and you're creating that healthy habit and you're being consistent, you don't know the outcome. That's just true faith in what my coach is telling me and what I believe we can be is what's going to happen. So I'm going to stay the course. And the thing about Florida State or any opponent that we have, and I realized this when I played, and I see it even on social media, the perception of University of Virginia football is we're soft. Like, they don't think that we're tough guys. They think, we wear khakis, we drink Zimas, and any soft moniker they attach to us. So it's like, all right, well, we just have to show you better than we can tell you. So even if we jump out on you, they feel like, well, they soft. We can end up coming back on them. So as you keep fighting, and the coach said, once you smell blood in the water, you can't let your foot off, because they're always going to be confident that they can return the favor, because in their mind, you're soft. So you got to drill it home. And even if you do beat them, the fact that they think you're soft, they're going to make an excuse and say you only beat us because of X, Y, Z. So that's why you just let them have it on the social media tip, and we move on to the next opponent.
You mentioned not showing who's soft, and we've gone 19 minutes here, and we haven't talked about Chandler Morris in detail yet. That he has shown that warrior mentality during that game. I mean, it was a gutsy performance by him. So his stats were 26 of 35 for 229 yards passing. He had 3 picks on the day, but he made up for it for running the ball well. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. He was able to get some touchdown passes as well. And just for him to come back for those 2 picks in the second quarter, right? And then also come back and in overtime, come back after he hit his thumb. I mean, he showed resilience. And now he's the 10th rated quarterback in QBR right now.
Yeah, man. He made the statement when he came here. He came here to win football games. He came here to win big football games, and he wanted to be that guy. And he's leading by example. He has that moxie. And when he threw those picks, he stayed the course. He trusted the process. He continued to find open guys. And then he understands that he is mobile. But if a playmaker is available, he'll get the ball to the playmaker. He's not going to play. The one thing I love about him, he hasn't allowed the hero ball gene to just dominate him. He lets it come out when it needs to. Like, you see it open in the end zone. I know y'all want me to get down, but I'm going to get to the paint now. Like, I know now how important I am. I took that shot early in the season. So when I take off, I'm going to be decisive. And he surprises a lot of team. And that allows all the other moving pieces to really be that much more dangerous, because when he utilizes his legs, he's not your typical mobile quarterback where once he tucks it, he's going. Like, he's tucking and he's still looking down the field. But at the same time, if you disrespect him and just let him roam, then he'll take what he could get and he'll keep the chains moving.
Yeah, looking at his success at this game, the intermediate passing between 10 and 19 yards was where he made his living. Obviously, he didn't have a great success with the long balls, but I mean, he is such a decisive quarterback for those short range passes, those medium range passes, that helps also the O-line. I know we talked a lot about the O-line success, but when you have a decisive quarterback that can unleash the ball so quickly, I mean, it helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Just because of schematically what Coach Kitchens, Des Kitchens is trying to do. Like, we run the ball. If we get 3 to 4 yards, we hurry up, we get into the line of scrimmage, and we're spreading you out, and now we counting how many guys are in the box. If we feel like we got the advantage, we'll run the ball again. We feel like you got too many in the box, we're going to throw the football, so we may throw a smoke route to the receiver all the way in the numbers. That's a long throw, but we still require you to be accurate. So if you're accurate there, we're getting the ball to the receiver. That defensive line that's rushing up the field now has to retrace their steps and run to the football, or they get negatives on film. So now they're exerting the energy from a short burst. The ball's out in a second or less, all the way to the sideline. They're running to the sideline. We get that gain. We have our receiver get up, rush the ball to the referee. We line back up. They got to reline back up, call their base coverage, base defense. We snapping the ball again. It might be a handoff. It might be a throw. But in the midst of all of that, once you get that positive game and you I always say, hold your water. You don't have a procedure, which last year was always our Achilles heel. We get a procedure. That's allowing our offense to zap the defender's energy. So then when we finally do a play action and we're looking to take a shot, our offensive line can come together as a wall because you're a little tired. But that all came in about because we executed early in the series with our run blocking scheme, understanding assignments, backs understanding the mission of getting up the field, get your shoulder square, give me 3 to 4 yards, being accurate on the smoke screens or being accurate on the lookie routes, on the read option. and it all comes to fruition. And I think a lot of times with Dez and his play calling, you saw how if the moving parts weren't in motion and guys was executing, you start to see the flaws in just his play calling because he really wanted to set up the next thing and a procedure call or inaccurate throw. So, just kudos to the whole offensive unit because no matter what the coaches scheme or teach, right, it still comes down to player execution. And I just take my hats off to these whichever 11 guys are in the game on offense because it takes a lot to run tempo offense. Fans don't understand, like, your mind is racing. You got to be in top condition. You got to understand the coverage, the front, the defense, the call, anticipate the run option call. So those guys have been executing at a high level.
I'm so happy you already brought up Des Kitchings because that was my next topic because the man has received so much criticism since year. And some of it has been warranted, to be fair. It's not like it was just to pick on. But he has done so well this season with the pieces that he has brought. That's a lot to ask a coach to bring so many new pieces and try to work together, make everybody happy with what they're getting. Cause that's the other part, the psychological part of the locker room and how you kind of handle guys being number 2 or number 3. I mean, what he's done there and just scheming in this game in particular. I mean, he saw that Florida State was having issues with multi-crossing mesh concept. He saw it.
Yep.
And then you saw the wheel route to Xavier Brown, that touchdown. There's the exact same play as the one that was the pick against NC State. And you're seeing all this and you go, Des, you're in your bag right now. You are scheming Florida State. You knew exactly where to hit him and he kept it. The only time he went away from it was in the second quarter. And I don't know if that was a little bit of Des, a little bit of what Chandler Morris was saying. But that was the only time, and he went right back to what it was working. And you can see that Des has improved in that way. But it's also, this is what Des Kitchens can do when he has an O-line.
Yeah, he definitely can. And, when you have increased talent, not from just the physical aspect, but just the mental aspect, guys being more consistent at executing what's asked of them, we all look better. A lot of times you can be a good coach, and it's a communication barrier that just zaps you. Like, you don't understand, like, what's going on. We worked on this all week. We get into the game. Why aren't you executing right now? Or, like, you just don't know what's going on. So, maybe he simplified his teaching, simplified his approach. Chandler Morris, I know, provides feedback. We know his dad, Chad Morris, was an offensive guru. So all those moving parts came into play. You know what you have up front. The plethora of backs that we have help, the receivers and what they bring to the table help. So it's just a lot of things that come into play. But end of the day, Dad's caught a lot of heat, and some was warranted because based off the numbers of his past stops of like what his offenses produce, that's on your resume. So if you've never been a guy that's been known to have top flight offenses statistically, then people are really going to doubt you if you're losing. So with the numbers that the offense have produced this year, it's like you have to tip your hat to him, because even if you're saying, well, the talent's better, well, was he calling a good plays the entire time? So that's, as an analyst, that's where you're at. It's like you tip your hat to him. Like, you shouldn't feel hesitant to say, yo, Dad, you're doing a good job. Because if you were outwardly saying, hey, man, why'd you call this play? You're killing us. If everything's working, be just as loud. Just, don't sit on your hands now. Just praise him while we're doing good, because he, like you said, he has route schemes that allows our offense to be a man defense or a zone defense all in one. So that's
I mean, it's the balanced offense that they said that they wanted. I mean, This is a very balanced offense, both passing and running. And what I thought was interesting was that he's back up in the booth. So he's not on the field. He was in the field the last 2 years. And I asked him if that's, Anthony Colandrea was an inexperienced quarterback, so you might need a little bit more hands-on. And he said having a veteran guy and as your quarterback and having more of a veteran offense allows him to be up top, which means he sees the game with a better view from there. So it has changed a little bit having that older group that Virginia now has.
Yeah, it's just being honest, right? It's not like an excuse, because you have to do what you have to do to be successful. So if you have a young quarterback, you have inexperienced offensive lineman, and you're the offensive coordinator, you feel like your voice should be heard directly, then you go out on the field. Does that limit your vision as far as schematically what the defense is trying to do? Yes, you're going to rely on assistants and their word and what they see, but your vision is different than their vision. So, you roll with the punches and you adapt. So now you have an experienced quarterback who's decorated in his own right, coming from North Texas, being one of four quarterbacks with 30 plus touchdowns. The other guys are in the NFL, and one guy was a Heisman hopeful at Clemson. So then you see the NIL, what they brought in with the offensive lineman. So it's like, you know what? I can move upstairs now. Now I'm trusting my own vision, and my quarterback's coach is down there. So I'm going to let those guys and the relationship they have be the bridge between what I see. And now I'm trusting the process because I'm up here. That's like you said, that's a new form of trust. And the way we run the football, when it's like, John always says in the booth now, like, Hawk, we're at the 40. Is this 4-down territory? And this is
Yeah.
and I'm like, yes. The way we run the football, yes. How we approach on 3rd down helps the call on 4th down.
Yeah. And I mean, Tony Elliott was aggressive. I mean, he went down 2 4th downs in that 4th quarter, including one in midfield. And I actually want to bring that up to you too, because I found it fascinating against Stanford when Brady Wilson went out and how they kind of switched their offense, where they lined up 3 offensive linemen to the left of center. And then they lined up 2 tight ends to the right of center. And I thought that was really interesting because they saw that they possibly needed some extra help in the line for those run plays. And I think there was that Chandler Morris touchdown was based on that lineup.
Yep.
And that's what Sage Ennis brings to you, who they missed last year. And obviously Dakota Tootie, with his extra weight, has been a very good asset too.
Yeah, and that's great analysis, because I was just looking at the game-winning drive in OT, and I was just like, all right, we lined it up. And with our tight, so we started off with both tight ends to the left side. We shift, and the tight ends go to the right with one lineman, as you stated. So we had 3 linemen to the left, and we also shifted Jamari as our quarterback because he's right behind center. He gets a direct snap out the trail, goes in the jet motion. 11 comes off sides, trail hits him. We get to the outside, so immediately the next play we stay in the same formation. We do the flip again, but this time it looks like we're the same, but Chandler's actually behind center and Jamari's behind the left guard. And when they snap the ball, Jamari goes to the field. And with the flow of trail and the allowing Jamari to get into the flat, both our tight ends are doing an exceptional job of protecting.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who coaches the tight end?
Yep.
He coaches the tight ends, and I've seen him work with them when they pass pro and they pad levels. And just that play design in itself, having 3 who's been dynamic for us as your immediate threat, understanding that Florida State likes to play soft zone. So you have your mesh concept. So guys' eyes are going left and right. And now you allow your quarterback being a run pass option. I mean, he makes the right decision. But it all started with, like you said, with the 3 linemen to the left side of the field. If I'm a defense, I'm thinking they're going to try to run over here again. Mm-hmm. They got 2 tight ends over here. They got to be coming out. So when they pass pro, you can see a linebacker waiting, like one of you guys coming out on a delay. And they never did. But that occupied an extra defender, because I know something fishy has to be here. No, they were pass prone the whole time.
No, yeah, I've been like, rewatching has been fun this year, just because you get to see some of the things that I think Des Kitchings has been wanting to do since his arrival. And we got a glimpse of that last year prior to that Coastal Carolina game. But then Sage Ennis got hurt, and then Tyler Neville's role got changed because he had to be more of a blocker than originally planned because Sage Ennis was hurt. So I feel like every year what they hoped to do was hurt by something else, either depth concerns or their starting quarterback going down. So I feel like a lot of things we're seeing is kind of like finally having all the pieces so they could put it together, or like their puzzle is finally coming together. There's not 2 different puzzles they're trying to put together, make one. It's one puzzle. And you're seeing that on the field right now.
Yeah. And that's coaches showing that they're learning from their past failures, understanding that we got to make sure everybody's prepared to play. We got to find the time and find the reps and make sure that if somebody goes down, we truly have competitive depth. We just can't say, oh, our starters got hurt, because you're not afforded that anymore. You're at a crossroads. You're at a year where you have to win. And if you truly want to be a great coach, you have to prepare everybody, and you have to instill in the player. You have to prepare like you were playing. You're one play away. Everybody's one play away. So prepare like you're going to play. That's the standard now. The standard is the standard. And it's trickled down. Guys are being more mature, and they're seeing the fruits of their labor right now. I mean, we're 4-1 again at this point in the season. And last time we played Louisville, it came down to that last drive. I say it came down to the mentor interception, because even on that drive, on my podcast in the recap, I questioned the second down play that Dez ran, because we ran this inside trap. And I was wondering why we ran that when I felt like, we were successful doing other things. And I felt like we squandered that drive. And then Louisville came down and scored. And we didn't get that pass interference on Tyler Neville on that crossing route. But with that being said, we got another opportunity to turn the corner versus Louisville on the road again. On the road this year. Last year, they were a home game. But that's all you can ask for, just opportunities.
And we're actually going to take a quick break now, but on our way back, we're going to talk about the side of the ball that I know you're interested in talking about, especially talking about Jason Pavard and the game that he had coming up.
Man, I got trampled. It took me like a whole 60 seconds to actually get up. Then I'm running. I'm trying to find my family, but that was a tough task.
Almost like this as a defense is like, it's like, okay, our eyes are opening up. We're like, we see who we are. Playmakers. Stopping a big time offense like that's major. You gotta take pride in that. And those bruises, those calluses, build that toughness. Because all it is come next week is just how tough can you become? How many more calluses can you get on your hands and on that body? So it's not going to get easier. It's just you got to get tougher as a defense. So just building up that toughness is really how I look at it.
We ain't done nothing yet. So this is just another one on the schedule for us. So our big focus each week is the next game is the biggest game in the season.
Just got to keep building off of it. Now we got a big target on us in the ACC, and we got to go get a win on the road next week.
And welcome back to the Good Ole Podcast. You just heard the players discuss the big win, including Devin Neal, who led the team in tackles, had a solid game for Virginia, was the best tackler in the game. Actually, this was probably one of the best tackling performances from the Virginia defense in general. And he just said they had a few more calluses in their hands and they were ready to kind of move forward on it. Spoken like a true defender, Ahmad. And one of my takeaways coming to this game was no explosive plays. Minimize those explosive plays, minimize those explosive touchdowns. And you know what? They did. They forced Florida State to make those either short runs or immediate passing, and forced Castellanos to throw in those big situations, which was the key for them. Again, I know Florida State fans were in my mention saying they never stopped the run, Jackie. You said stop. I said no. I said control the run. I said control Florida State. And that's what they did. They controlled it.
Yeah, Florida State is an offensive juggernaut, so you're not really going to stop them. They come in the game averaging 600 yards, a total offense, 300 yards rushing. 300 yards rushing. So to hold them under 300 yards is a win. As you stated, you look at all their games outside of Bama. Bama, they were just methodically moving the ball down the field because they didn't have over 400 yards total offense. But, you look at the Kent State and the East Alabama A&M game, they have big runs, and it was a lot of the ending around. Matter of fact, even the Bama game ended around to the speedy 400-meter champion. So the only big play that our defense truly gave up was to Deuce Robinson on a back shoulder throw where, our corner just didn't finish, right? He just broke the tackle, but we got them down and we still made them earn the touchdown. But as you stated, if you could limit an offense that is averaging over 600 yards to, intermediate gains, you're in a sense winning, because in the shortened field, you could bow up and hopefully create a turnover. And that's what Pavard did. Like, when he triggered off the line of scrimmage and we're blitzing our nickel, and he not only gets his hands up, but he not only hits the ball, but then he intercepts the ball. Like, that's a triple whammy right there. Because majority of the time, Jack, like, we always play passive in the sense of we just play soft zones. But the fact that we were attacking him in spots that they wasn't really prepared for just showed the scouting that we did and the trust we had in our defenders.
I mean, last time Virginia played Castellanos when he was in Scott Stadium for BC, they had 2 picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 picks again. That was the last time Virginia had 2 picks, was against Castellanos. So John Radzinski knows how to scheme against Tommy Castellanos. I will give him that.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Jason Pavard, because I feel like he has had some criticism among the fan base, but I felt like he's been improving every game as you watch him. And also because I think one of the things that people don't realize is this secondary is also new.
Mm-hmm.
And also because Jason Pavard, yes, he came in the spring, but because of so many numbers depleted in that secondary, he was forced to play corner so many times. So he wasn't even playing the position he was going to play at in the fall. And then when he came back for training camp, you had Donovan Platt out for a certain time, Christian Charles out for a certain time, Jordan Robinson's out. I mean, it was hard to get chemistry going between them, and that's why we're having the miscommunication issues. But it felt like this team was more of a unit back there and how they operated. And honestly, having Cam Robinson back also helped.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And I'll be the first one to praise our defensive backs, just because I know I hold them at a standard that can seem pretty harsh on my podcast, because I'm expecting these guys to gel. And even though I know they came in late and they had the injuries, it's just one of them things where I understand that when you're DB, it has to be accelerated, because when you're getting beat deep, they destroy you on social media. And the fact that I know these young men, it's like, I want to let you guys know, like, y'all really got to get it together, because you're the piece that has shown on the Coach Rudd offense. When we had Fintrell and we had Gucci Man, Anthony Johnson, when those guys played at an ACC caliber level, this defense was special that first year. So the better they play, the more Coach Rudd could be aggressive, and he dials it up. So when those guys were on the same accord, when Christian was in the game with Platt this time and they communicating and everybody's on the same accord, you know, like Boston College, we went to sleep, they miscommunicated, let a big touchdown go. But this game, they were forcing Deuce Robinson outside. If you're going to beat me, it's going to just have to be a back shoulder throw. You're 6'6", but I'm taking the deep ball away. Yeah, he might have got a hitch and go on Jordan Robinson that was ruled incompletion. But that's just something technique-wise, like, all right, now you know you got to work on that. But I really felt like they stepped up to the challenge. But Pavard, people don't understand the position he plays, that saber position, the nickelback position, is true island work. He's asked to force on run plays. He's asked to cover. A lot of times teams will put their best receiver at that position. He rarely has a lot of help. He's asked to do a lot. He answers the call. Like, he answered the call no matter who he was checking. And I know he was kind of watching. I think it was him, or was it Carnley, when Castellanos completed that ball when he was in the pocket over the head of a short corner. I don't know if it was Pavard or Carnley, but that was the only time I felt like that the DB has to find the work, because it wasn't a threat in front. But overall, they played a good game because they took away the deep route, just like Florida State did to us. They wasn't allowing us to go deep. They was playing 3 safety high a lot.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, Pavard had the highest coverage grade too coming out of this game. And again, he was the second or third best tackler as well. So he had an overall really good game. And I want to stress that tackling, because Pro Football Focus had them, I think most of the starters had a grade of 75 or higher.
Wow.
Which, when you look at that, that's a huge improvement, because usually I'm talking about missed tackles, and it wasn't Virginia's defense that was missing tackles. It was Florida State's defense that was missing tackles. And what I also liked is just seeing the more aggressive side of Mitchell Milton. Yes. Then you had Daniel Rickard doing Daniel Rickard things, who John Radzinski says is the best football player they have. Yeah. But also, it feels like Rudd is finally figuring out his D-line. In the NC State game, I thought he was trying to figure out what he has. we talked about how Dez kind of knew what he has. I think Rudd was still trying to figure out what he has. I think that's why we saw some of the issues that we saw, and also Cam Robinson not playing. But when Florida State started to run the ball, he turned to Jameer Carter.
Yeah, about to say, he turned to the juggernaut. He realized, hey, juggernaut, second half, you're going to have to play. You're going to have to play. So if you get caught in pass pro situations, just bull rush. We'll be okay. But I need to take away this. So 90, you stand in the game. They did, we fluctuate two groups. I always call one of our groups is our run stop group. Then the second group with Daniel Ricker can see more of our pass pro group. Those guys, because Moore and Charlottesville Rudy is like a phenomenal pass rush. I don't think people realize he does the white Freeney spin. He'll do the half spin. He'll do the little 2 outside juke and slap your hand and get inside of you. So 52 is special when he's in the game. He does a lot. So, and he even got better at his run, like setting the edge versus the run, or playing the zone, the read option, things like that. So as you stated, NC State was getting kind of caught between both groups because Rudd didn't really understand who should I play, or trying to conserve guys because of the heat. But now we're at the point in the season where it's like, all right, if you're running 90, you got to stay in. We know what our other guys bring to the table. And like you said, Hunter Osborne and those other guys. And then we also move Kasim Moore inside. And that's a cheat code. I seen him Reggie White club somebody versus Stanford and get a sack by he knocked the guard off and got the sack, and they couldn't help. So he's understanding. Oh, Caleb Hardy playing linebacker has been huge too in packages.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and that's why I feel like I've been more confident with the defensive side of the ball as we go further, because I think they just needed actual games to figure out what the pieces are and where they fit and which situations to put them. It's like he got too many toys in the offseason, and he's like, I don't know how these play well with each other. I don't know.
Kamak plays well too. I forgot to say Kamak's name.
Yeah, I mean, Fisher Kamak had a great start to that game. I mean, he was everywhere. I think the first or second drive, and then obviously he had that fumble recovery after Anthony Britton forced that sack. I mean, it was a game where you saw some guys stand out at different points when needed, because I think that was the point of this defense, right? And then Tony Elliott said it, get the stops so that the offense gets the opportunity to score. We just need a few stops. We don't need stops at every drive. We just need 1 or 2 stops. And they made the stop on 4th down. They made the stop in overtime. They forced Florida State to go for a field goal where they went wide right. I mean, they gave them the opportunity. I mean, with 2 minutes and 34 seconds to go, defense said, here you go, offense. This is your chance to win in regulation. So so the defense did its job.
Yeah, it's the ultimate team sport. And I always talk about this on air during the broadcast, that I'm an arena football veteran, spent 10 years playing it, and our motto was get timely stops, because it's a 50-yard field, so it's going to be a lot of points. So our goal was get 3 stops. And when we get our stops, offense score. And now they chasing us, because we expect you to score every time. Like offense, you got to score every time. But if you turn the ball over, my mantra was always, if my quarterback threw a pick, I was like, I'll get it back for you. By the end of this game, I'm going to get that possession back for you. Trust me. It's just one of the things where I got your back. So it's like, if you guys are having a hard time stopping their offense, we're going to keep scoring. And if you get a stop, we're going to score. And then if we didn't score, can you limit them to 3? Like, you give me the small wins. Because it's like, all right, you didn't get the stop, but if they make a mistake and don't kick it deep, Cam right there. So that's an added bonus too. So, these guys are definitely playing complementary football. And complementary football isn't just running and throwing the same amount of attempts. It's understanding the mission at each point of the games, especially when Florida State went up 21-14. Our offense said, we got you. We're going to go ahead and make sure when we go to halftime, it's going to be 0-0. And we know we got to get a stop coming out, defense. And then defense like, okay, we're going to get a stop coming out. So I love that those guys are having that belief with them, amongst each other.
And even on special teams, I mean, Daniel Sparks isn't punting. Then you have Eli Slyback coming in and performing well. And then you have Will Bettridge, who unfortunately had a few misses so far this season. But when they needed him, he tied the game up after that first overtime with a field goal. I mean, that is a definition of complementary football.
Yeah, I love Will, man. I got a lot love for Will Betteridge just because of his relationship with Deshaun Perry, and we talk a lot, and I understand like his mindset. He wants to be perfect, but sometimes, man, it ain't gonna be pretty. If it's an ugly kick and it go in, guess what? It still went in. So just focus on it going in, because he's a perfectionist. He wants to be perfect. He wants the team to count on him. He doesn't want the team to be hesitant to count on him. So I think it was like poetic, because my prediction on WINA on our Cavalier countdown, who's going to win the game? I said, we're going to win by 3. We're going to need Will to make a field goal in crunch time. And we didn't win by 3, but we needed Will to make a field goal in crunch time.
Yeah.
You got to answer those demons. Like in a game like that, all the things that you struggle in have to be positives. We struggle in the red zone. Red zone was a positive. We struggle with stopping the deep ball. We stopped the deep ball as a positive. We struggle with tackling. We tackle well, positive. We struggle with finishing. Had to finish. Like we had to finish. Get the win. So
hey, it's a game of inches, right?
Yep.
and Virginia has been inches away from a win, but they finally got it. I mean, that I think seeing Tony Elliott after the game, you could see him like, I'm winning we won a close game here.
Yeah. And fans were there, 50,000 fans. Like that's the icing on the cake. Because I felt like last year, anytime we promoted, we need the fans to come, like the Maryland game or the Louisville game, it didn't end well. So they didn't want to come back, because it's like they don't want to be as a fan, you don't want to get your hopes up to be let down. And I feel like that's why a lot of our fans allow the sins of the past to control the present, as far as like, all right, we got this win, but I can't get too happy because in years past, it's been a letdown. So it's like they know they have to fight that ghost as well. And that's fine. That keeps them focused. In my opinion, I don't mind a fan being hesitant, because that hesitancy, the players should know that, because that should keep you focused, because they want to believe in you. But in the past, teams like the teams I played on that started off hot and go down to Georgia Tech and then lose, it's a letdown. So it's like, don't be like us. Be better than us. Don't have a letdown. Stay focused. Continue to strive for greatness.
Yeah, it definitely was the loudest I've heard Scott Stadium as with the Tony Elliott era. It was definitely the loudest, and definitely they were invested in this game. Obviously, I still am pretty impressed with the speed that field storm happened. I mean, I feel like they need to test some of these guys in the 40-yard dash. They were that quick. But no, I mean, Chandler Morris, actually, I had asked them, because in the Tony Elliott era, they've never won back-to-back against Power 4 teams on their schedule. That happened for the first time this year because of Stanford and then Florida State. They beat top-ranked guys before. I mean, they won top 10, North Carolina and Chapel Hill, and then they won at Pitt, and that number 23. But the next game, they've always lost. So they've never built on success. So that was a common theme in the post-game press conferences, talking to the players, was like, how do you deal with that? And Chandler Morris made a good point. He's like, this isn't the same teams, because it's over about 50% new. So we don't have that in our back. But also, we're old. We're a veteran team. So we can flesh this out, because this is just a mature team. So moving on that, Virginia now, because now they're going to have noise, right? You're going to have the little chirps around saying that you have the second best chance, according to ESPN analytics, to make it to the ACC championship game. You're going to have that now in the back of your mind, which you didn't have. I mean, they were voted number 14th in the preseason ACC poll. I didn't have them back. I had them in 6 or 7, but they had 14. Now they're talking about Miami and Virginia in Charlotte. How, like, that's the next thing that Tony Elliott needs to manage.
Yeah. And you manage that by saying we play Louisville this week. Nothing that can't come true if we don't take care of Louisville. And then the week after that, and then like every week is the same mantra. You got to take care of this team. You can't take the elevator in life. You got to take the stairs. So this is the next step. It's the next step. You got Florida State, then it was the next step right here, Louisville. You can't just say, I'm going to just take the elevator, because you can't skip games. So those skipping floors isn't allowed. So if you want to be a champion, you got to take on everybody. Can't skip the line. So as you stated, now you have expectations placed upon you. But the worldly expectations isn't pressure because you know what you ask for yourself to be. And every day you're trying to prove yourself right. That's it. And when you accomplish that goal, you're happy because you understand the journey it took, but you just proving yourself right and you really didn't do anything because you know what the ultimate goal is. And that's why I love about this team. Like, we really ain't do, like, we know we upset somebody because of a poll, but we felt like we could beat them. So it's really not an upset to us. It's not being cocky. It's not being conceited. It's just my competitive edge. I'm not surprised I beat you. You surprised because you didn't believe, or we showed something in film where you felt like they were better. That's fine. That's sports. But I'm not surprised. It's like when Terrence Crawford beat Canelo. It's like, I knew I would beat him. I got all the belts now. I knew that I could beat all these guys. You guys doubted me because that's just what it is. So kudos to this team. And it's the beauty of the NIL. They don't know that these guys don't truly know the history of failing after succeeding here at the University of Virginia.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of NIL and the transfer portal, where Virginia could go in there in the offseason. They could really evaluate what they needed and if they did well in the transfer portal, pick the pieces that they really need so they can work with the current pieces. And this is where you can. You're not just filling roles and getting guys to a transfer portal and replacing guys here and there. You're filling holes.
Yeah.
And so far, it seems like Virginia executed the plan very well, despite all the injuries that they had in the O-line. Again, shout out to Terry Heffernan. Yeah. They still managed to do it. So it's showing that their plan in the offseason is working.
And all of the places that they attacked the transfer portal, they jailed at the same time in which they inherited the players. So you got the offensive line, defensive line, the linebackers, the running backs. The group that they upgraded last is the group that everybody's like, what's taking them so long to start playing better? And that's the DBs. And they're starting to jail. They're starting to get it together. So it's like, you see it. And those guys are staying the course. Coach Cox does a good job of preparing those gentlemen. And, kudos to them having short memories, because it's tough being a DB, like chasing a guy and people think you got burnt, but it was a blown coverage. But even with the blown coverage, it still falls on you guys as a group, falls on your position coach, and your position coach like, man, we rep this. I told you, like, what are y'all doing? Like, but you stay in the course and being able to hold yourselves accountable, not taking it personal, being coachable. And that's the one thing I see in this team. These guys are coachable. Like, you can get up in their face and say, do your job. We executed this. You're not doing your job. Do better. Or I'm going to get somebody in here who could do better. It's not a threat. It's just holding you accountable. And for those guys being mature enough to be like, I got to get my stuff together. They counting on me. And then your brother's coming up behind you saying, get your stuff together. It's a lot more colorful than that, but get it together. And they doing that.
And I think this is full circle time, Ahmad, because in the beginning of the show, we talked a little bit what this game meant for Virginia, just a celebration and just a program. But moving forward, do you feel like this win changes your perception of this team or your expectation for this team?
Me personally, it doesn't change anything for me from the standpoint that I get to watch them closely and I get to hear the intimate conversations the coaches have with players and the coaches have amongst each other and speaking with coaches. So I understand what their goals and their standard are. But it's fun for me to see fans get excited about the program and truly believe in the program and take pride in bragging about the accomplishment of the program, what they've shown thus far. Like, that's always like a priceless moment for me, just seeing fans being excited about the product that's being displayed. I was super impressed with just the presentation of just the stadium once we got into the fourth quarter, from the music they was playing, from the light show, from the Jumbotron, just the engagement. Because I understand what our fans have been asking for our administration, just the atmosphere. And I felt like everything came full circle. Like, and it ended perfectly. Now, it got a little dangerous. Storming could be dangerous, but it ended perfectly. And that's all you want from your experience at Scott Stadium. You want everybody to fill in. And with success comes longer wait lines and more traffic. So everybody going to get to the game a little earlier now. But I mean, it's just fun to see, man. Because I always a glass half full type of guy, and that gets me in trouble a lot because people was like, dude, you come on, wake up. You're delusional. It's like, bro, I'm just wired to always think I could get out of a negative situation. So I'm not surprised. I'm just thankful and happy.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to the DJ. He had the Harlem Shake songs playing when the goalposts were being shaken. I mean, he was on point. He was on point. He needs to do every single home game.
Yeah, that goalpost undefeated. I know somebody took a spill. I hope they was all right next time.
Yeah, I did hear there was a stretcher called at some point, 19 injured. So maybe next time you guys have a field storming, don't be as chaotic. I mean, even my dog agrees. Let's calm down a little bit on the field storming.
Let's focus on us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to go on the field. Let's focus on our players, our personnel. You know, I would like in the perfect world for us to be able to allow like the opposing team to like get off the field just so it won't be any mix-ups or you put somebody in a situation and they have a human reaction. That's my only thing about storming courts in the field. Like, if we could get the opponents off and then, or if we can trust our fan base just to go to our players and coaches and celebrate with them. Because you know, you don't want to see the ugly side of that switch still being on for a football player. Like, they've been a part of a violence competition for 3 hours. That switch is still on. So as much as folks feel like they get compensated well, that's not going to change their feelings of they just lost the game. And you might be saying something that's choice, but you right here now versus back there.
Yeah, we saw the Jason Brevard got the pick, fell on the ground. You had Squirrel White as well, and you just had this storm of
He's all flat.
fans.
Cover. Jason.
Yeah. There was some fans were like, "Oh, he was just dogpiling." I was like, I don't know. I saw him look at that swarm of people, and I saw him climb over there after he looked up. So I felt like he was just like, "Nah, I need to help my guy over here."
Yeah.
Cover him up.
HBO, help a brother out. That's what I always call it. Make sure you practice HBO. Help a brother out. Help your brother.
Yeah. It was funny because I talked to Jason after the game, and I said, "How long?" He was like, "Oh, it was a while. I had to fight my way up." And then I was trying to find my family because his family was there. I was trying to find them. It took them 10 minutes to find them.
It was dope to see like our women's basketball players join, our men's basketball player, like the other Olympic sports that were in attendance. And I know Coach Ona got honored there. So that was just a sight to see, man. Just everybody coming together collectively. Because I remember storming the court when Travis Watson was here playing basketball and they defeated Duke and North Carolina, I think, at U-Haul that year. And I remember just going, because my wife was like, when you stormed the court, did you go find like the Jason Williams and those famous guys for other teams? I was like, no, I was going to Travis Watson, the guys I knew to celebrate.
Yeah, no, it was it's definitely one, and now they're ranked, so now they're going to be favored in some of these games that they're going to be hosting. So this is definitely going to be one thing where they remember. But Ahmad, thank you so much for talking a little bit about the game. You were there, so it was nice having on the field kind of perspective too. So I appreciate it.
No problem, man. I was super nervous and antsy in the box the entire time, but I had a lot of fun. That game was like something that's on my bucket list. Being able to say I was on the call with John Freeman on a top 10 victory here at Scott Stadium. Like, it was emotional. It was a lot of emotion. And I shared it with Matt Schaub as well. So, and Demo. And it was dope just to be able to be on the station. So I'm highly favored to be able to have the opportunity just to have my voice be a part of that game.
And you guys can follow Ahmad. I mean, he's there every Saturday. Well, I guess that was Friday night, but most Saturdays when they host games, and he's on the road too. So you can follow him play by play in his color. And also on the Believe Network, he has a weekly, bi-weekly now, because you do one before the game and one after the game every week. So you get to share his thoughts too there. So a lot of good content from Ahmad every week. So I appreciate you.
Petty Hawk makes an appearance. Usually.
Yes, Petty Hawk makes an appearance. I was surprised that we didn't get some Petty Hawk after all the stuff that Knowles kind of gave up this week. Yeah. But
I just know how the staff is, and it's like you've been there. So it was just one of the things. As much as I wanted to be Petty Hawk, I want to be respectful of the program, and I respect Florida State. Like, they allowed my cousin to be a scholarship athlete there, and he won the national championship there in '93. So, I wasn't going to really go full-fledged and disrespect them, because at the end of the day, you respect your opponent.
I'll try to be a better person moving forward, Amon, and not
I mean, see what they said to you, so you had every right to be petty Jack,
Yeah, I was petty Jackie, upvoting certain comments that were thrown my way, or liking certain comments that were thrown my way.
Yeah.
But I appreciate Ahmad. Thank you. And thanks again for Ahmad for joining us on the show. It was nice to have him there, as he gives a different perspective on what he saw, not just for him being in the radio booth, but also as a former Virginia player. It's nice to have his perspective on what he saw on the field. Now, before we go, I wanted to go ahead and like this video and click on the bell so that you're notified whenever there is another YouTube video, or go over and give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast, so we continue to grow the show. As this episode is coming down on Tuesday, I can't promise you that we'll have another episode this week. I wanted to get this one earlier so we could talk about the big win over Florida State. So I'll try to get one done for Thursday. But if not, I'll be right back here next week. And obviously, we have all the preview content coming up on Wahoo's 24/7. I will be at Louisville this week, so I'll give you game coverage there as well. But for right now, I hope you guys have a good rest to your week.